I was very upset with him. I wanted answers. I wanted to know why he never come back for me. 'Cause he never came back for me. And I went through a lot. So when my uncle come and get me, he took me to my other grandmother, my father's mother and father, which they actually had a home off of Merle Avenue on 12th Street. And I was there for about 2 weeks. And then my uncle came and he said, I'm going to take you back to Miami. We'll go down south. He never told me that I was not going to was stay with my dad still. I didn't know that I was going to be going to another family member. But at that point, he had already been absent for so long. So I cared, but like I didn't care. And I did not mind, being with another family member on that side of family because the Portiers, they're very powerful pastors and evangelists, very strong people in the Church of Christ, very good people, very uprooted, and our bloodline is very rich in Christianity. My grandfather, hardcore Portier, he has his own ordained college for ministry to be ordained. But yeah, they're good people, and they're very family oriented, and they're about family that stick together. So I knew that I would not be going, even though I was still without with my mother and father. I knew I would not be suffering, or going through the trial and tribulations that I did on the other side. So I was thankful for that, and when I get there, it probably was almost a month before I did see my father. I just asked my aunt, I talked to him on the phone, and he would make all these plans and promises and never came through. And then one weekend he pop up and he come and pick me up, and I was the happiest child that could be alive at that time. And he talked to me, and he never really talked to me about the things that happened to us. He told me what he had heard. He asked me about what happened, and I told him because he already go through the same story with my brother, which was a very little boy, and so from what my brother tell him, and then he come back get a story from me, and it was just clear, like, he tried to run. I don't know, I guess in his mind he tried to cover it up, or but he almost treated me like he almost treated us like we made it up, like it wasn't true or something. And his sisters and brothers, my aunts and uncles, in the 48 side of the family, they would get on him, and they never really knew the whole story. The only one who really knew about those situations was my uncle that originally come and pick us up, and he probably shared with information he knew, but nobody never knew in detail of it, because they didn't. No one would ever know unless you heard it from us. But from just a little bit of what you would hear, it was just enough to be like, Lowell, you need to get yourself together. Your kids have been, this, that, and the third. And my father, he would be, no, it wasn't that serious. Oh, no, Katrina just wants attention. Lowell Jr. just wants attention. And everyone knew that wasn't the case. But what they did know is that whatever situation took place, it had me and my brother in a very dark place, and I had a very aggressive and mean side that would strike on sight. And in the event that I felt like I was going to be harmed or anyone around me, I would act upon immediately.
How was it going to the schools out there?
It was rough. It was rough. I ended up being expelled out of Dade County schools. I had to go to school, Broward County. I always got into fights. That was the main problem, fights, and it was mostly with boys because back then, you had the guys, they would come and they would smack a girl in their butt or grab her or stuff. I never took kindly that. I didn't like being touched, especially in that manner. I didn't like people up under me. I didn't like, and you would have a crowd of people or guys or wherever that would talk about you, if they felt like you were green or weren't cool, or oh, she thinks she all that, or because one thing about it, we always look nice, we had the best of things. Once we get with my father, we have best of things, dressed very nice. My father was also a kind of person that think that money cover everything up, you know. So, I always had this, had that, and I always stay myself. And I didn't, I already had a barrier over me to where I felt like, I was a grown ass woman because at the age of 11, I was forced to become one. I went through so many horrific things, and then, raising my little brother, my little sister, and protecting them, and the things that I went through to keep us together. By the time I'm in school, and I would be looking at people like, the things that would be going on in my head while I'm looking at someone, you know. And so, I mean, it didn't take much. It didn't take much. You could look at me the wrong way, and I would feel like, oh, this nigga up to something. And it would just, I might just spike off from then, and then one thing would lead to another, one fight would lead to another, and one thing about it, I was scared of nothing because I spent many years fighting off grown men off of me. So to get in a fight with a female or one of these young niggas, that was nothing. I used to be ready to take a nigga head off. And so my father, he was always called up to school, and he would, and so he got back to his same alibi. Oh, you just want attention, this, that, and the third. So he pissed me off. I run away from him. And I go down South Miami, and I meet a guy. I lie about my age. But he was a drug dealer, and I ran away with him for a couple months, and then he became over possessive, and I was like, oh my god, what I got myself into? I gotta get away from him, and he don't even know. I'm not even grown, but I went. Me and him get into it. He held me hostage in a house for a long time when I tried to leave. He ended up. I guess he thought about killing me, wanted to one night, but couldn't do it. But he was so mad, he shot me on my foot, and that's how I was able to get away because they had to call ambulance. I had to go to a hospital for my foot, and my father come pick me up, and
Wow. So you mean to tell me that this guy shot you in the foot?
yes, shot me on my foot, my right foot.
So I could just imagine the other types of abuse you went through with this guy. Could you talk about that and the dangers of that type of relationship?
Uh, he never was physically abusive to me. We had a really great relationship. Um, I was very, very mature for my age, so he never suspected that I was a teenager. But he he was big in the drug industry, and he moved a lot of drug in and out of town, and he used to have me moving it. I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't never know it was in a car, because they would take the whole car out in Miami. We had shops they called chop shop. They dismantle the whole car and put a dope in the door, in the end. It wouldn't be in the trunk or in the back seat, or no duffel bag, stuff like that. So they would rent cars and they would take it apart, put the drugs in it, And to me, it was just like, oh, my guy got me a nice rental. Y'all want to go ride, you know? And he would already probably be in another location in, like, let's just say Orlando. And he'll call me and be like, yeah, baby, I need you to come to Orlando. And you give him a location and say, yeah, we having a party, bring your girls. So that's what we thought we were doing, you know? And everybody was like, oh, yeah, you know, Trina, she got a, you know, he got money, this, he be getting all different kind of cars, and the whole time I was trafficking cocaine. But it get to a point, you know, I was a child, I was a teenager. I fell madly in love with him, and he had a real woman for real. You know, he had kids I didn't know about or anything, and and he actually had me come. I guess his wife, you know, he tell her that I'm just a person that's bringing the drugs, and then somebody say something to her because he had friends and stuff that were really fond of me, and none of them knew my real age. That were really fond of me, and I guess they say something to her. But one day I go there, and she's come to me and she asked me, you know, what was my relationship with this guy, and I tell her, and she asked me how old I was. I told her I was 18. And I really was only 15, and you know, it crushed my heart. It felt like my soul was snatched out my body. She was also the one that told me everything that I was doing, what he actually had me doing, and that's all I was just someone to bring their drugs and back and forth. And so I was hurt, torn apart. I told him I was gone. I was gonna leave him, and first he tried to say shit was all a lie or whatever, and then he had to come out and tell the truth. And so he convinced me to go back to the house and talk to him before I leave. He said he'll take me home wherever, and I go back. I should have left and go get on the bus like I said I was, but I go back, and when I get there, he keep me hostage. He say he won't leave his house, and you know he's tried to put me up for like a really big scare, but I never saw him as this person, as this monster that was starting to come out of him. And so, you know, I was just like, yeah, like really, you're right. So when you think I'm just gonna stay, and he chained the locks on the doors, and you know he threatened me, you know, would stay on a third level, so I couldn't like go out the window or nothing. He took like disconnect all the phone, everything, and he would actually come back. Every time he came back home, he had his shopping bags and jewelry and money and stuff. And I used to say, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I gonna do? I can't go anywhere. You got me trapped in the house. What am I gonna wear? What am I gonna spend it? What am I gonna do? And I took it all one day. I burned it and come and I lay right there in the middle of the bed. I cry, I beg. He kept me there like for I guess probably about maybe a month, a good month, maybe a little bit over. But it could come the day I he come in and I just played possum. You know, I'm traumatized and I'm devastated. I think he thought that maybe I tried to kill myself or dead because I just laid her on the floor. It was like nothing else to do. Say like you might as well kill me or something because I can't, you know. And so he said, so you really want? I was like, what? You have a wife, you have a whole family. It's like you use me to traffic drug. I end up telling him my real age. That didn't even matter anymore. You know, he tell me it's a lie. I'm just saying that this, that, or third, or whatever. But long story short, he go get a gun. I was getting him what I had left, and I say I'm ready, and he come out in the kitchen. I sitting down, and I feel he put a gun to my head, and I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm looking like I'm scared to turn my head. I touch her. I said, "Why you have a gun to my head?" He wouldn't say anything for a long time, and I knew that I was going to die. I just knew he was going to kill me. He was obsessed with me. And I just closed my eyes and just prayed. And he had that gun in my hand for a long time, like literally like every bit of 5 minutes. 5 minutes don't sound like a long time, but when you got a gun to your head and you've been held hostage for over a month and you realize you're dealing with a maniac for real, 5 minutes with a gun like that is a long time. But I prayed and I prayed, and he moved the gun. I feel him move, and I was like, "Oh my God, thank you." And then I hear God, bah! And I grabbed my head for some reason, I guess, because that's where I had gone to. But I feel my foot like burning, it's on fire. And I look down and I said, "Oh," I said, "this nigga just shot me in my foot." I'm laughing. I can laugh about it now, but and I look and he guess what he say after she said you ready to go down? I didn't even know how to respond to that answer. If I say yes, you might shoot me in my head for real this time. And he picked me up, tried to carry me, and said, "Come on, I'm going to take you to the hospital. If I'm going to take you to the hospital, I'm going to drop you off." And he called people from there, and that's what happened.
Wow, that's a crazy story. So after that, your father came and picked you up. What was you feeling like when your father came?
Really, I didn't really care. I didn't really care. At that point, I really didn't care what. I already know he was going to do his long lecture, and I was going to be everything but a child of God. I'm just off the chain. And, you know, he, the only part that he would really own up and claim to be responsible for is for not, for not taking us like when they first get divorced, because my mom apparently I hear like we're already doing drugs and stuff when she found out my father was cheating on everything. And my, so he said that he felt in the spirit that you know we would not have proper raising and upbringing. He never felt like the situations that happened to us with that those situations would happen, but just from my mother's side of the family, he know the history with them and the drug game and stuff like that, and they sell, they use, my mom was using already, but he didn't know it was to that extremity, to where she was disappearing, and then now she done disappear for good. But he did always say, he should have always took us with him, because he knew that we weren't gonna have the proper upbringing and raising, that a child needs with that side of the family. But as far as everything else, he just would, try to cover it up, like, we were either fabricating or exaggerating, or, we want attention, and he don't know why I'm this, why I'm that. And like I said, he always felt like money could cover everything. Got my father, he's a millionaire right now today. Back then he wasn't a millionaire, but he was very, 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 very extremely wealthy. So, we lived in, condos, townhouses, you know, nice places, had nicer things. And so that's all that he will focus on. It's like, you guys, like, I got you guys in a big house. I know you have this, you have that. And that stuff meant nothing. So, it brought no happiness. It would take away no pain. The only thing that it would bring is more attention on me that I didn't want. I don't like attention on me. I don't want to be a limelight. I don't want the niggas looking at me and no. So that was my father thing. He felt like as long as he making that money and he this that and the third, then nobody he doing his job. Our father, he
So you say that your father is a millionaire right now today.
yes.
So was he guilty? Was he going through a guilt trip? Do you think he actually mean it?
He went through a lot of guilt trips. He went through a lot of guilt trips. It's a lot that he he always he always had a method behind his madness as well. But because of his wealth and his fortune, it's like nobody never really never really said anything to him or like really reprimanded him or put their foot down, read him his right, put him in his place. They might say how they feel about the situation or what's on their mind, but my father was like the overseer of the family, the godfather, and then especially when it comes to majority of the Portiers on my father's side of the family are very wealthy and rich. Okay, but my father is probably one of the ones with the highest, with the most bracket of capital income. So when it comes to a lot of situation, but everybody go, my father gonna do it. You want to start business, he's gonna do it, but he did that for everybody, in his family. He did for his lady friends, his woman and stuff, but he never do it for us.